Okay, so now I've got my shield cut out. I've got my outer layer cut out. So what's going to happen next is I'm going to have to apply the glue and put this all together. You can see I'm just trying to make sure this lines up relatively close. Sometimes with the craft foam, it can actually stretch, or as you apply glue to it, it will actually get bigger than the original. So you kind of have to play with it a little bit, or you end up with some bends or some weird stuff. If you have to, you may actually have to cut it down. I'll show you another option as we start applying it, to attaching it without it being too much of a hassle. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our barge or whatever contact cement you're using. Remember, use this stuff in a well-ventilated area. You know, make sure you take all those extra safety precautions just in case, because it is, well, one, it smells terrible, but but you're going to want to get that all ready. Make sure you're as safe as possible. So I'm going to get my contact cement ready to roll here. And like I said, there's a reason I drew out this line, because now I know exactly where I want to apply my contact cement, so I don't have it all over my shield. Alright, so and I'm realizing super quickly we're going to apply this, and then I'm going to quickly catch one step that I almost missed here in this. And this is going to help get some of the detail into it. So we're going to quickly apply this, get it all applied. Because the nice thing about this is actually going to make things a little bit easier while I do this other step. So we got this. And normally you want to do this step that I just missed before you get to this point. But I totally forgot it. So I'm going to quickly apply to this. Like I said, you want to be careful this doesn't get too thick on the craft foam, because like I said, it will actually deform the craft foam a little bit and change its size, so it doesn't actually fit quite as well as you'd like it to. But we've got a solution for that. So I'm going to quickly finish applying this, and we want to wait, give or take, about 10 or so minutes to let the contact cement get, mostly dry. It's just going to stick to me everywhere now. It's the only disadvantage of that stuff, and some of the later bits that we've got to work with. We're going to get that all applied. Alright, so we got our contact cement. I'll put this off to the side so it can do its thing and not stick to everything. Alright, so one thing we're going to do super quick here, and one of the other bits that you may need, is you're going to need this guy, heat gun. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, and hopefully it doesn't stick to my shield. And I'm going to basically have points on this. I'm going to take my knife, and I'm going to cut into my foam. I'm not going to cut very deep, but I want to cut lines along it, because you know how a lot of the Viking shields are basically wood planks put together? Well, we're going to create that wood plank effect. And you don't have to make everything perfectly even, unless you're inclined to do so. But, yeah, basically I'm going to keep measuring across. And cut across. I'm going to cut these thin lines. Make sure it's all straight up and down. I'm going to keep going. I can reapply my glue if it looks like this has broken some of the contact with it. So I mean, you could still do it at this point, but generally you want to do this before. Okay, so this is going to get super loud, and we're going to apply some heat. Now you can already see that on the camera, which is actually super cool that you can see it happening. But you can see now I've actually created these cut lines. So if you look at my original piece here, you can see how it's got those lines and it looks like it's, you know, slats of a board that have been put together to make this shield. And all we did was a nice thin cut on your foam. Don't go too deep. You don't need to. Apply some heat and it actually pulls apart. So it now creates that. And you can use this to create a lot of similar effects. If you need to create the look of a cut or a seam in a piece that you've made, but you don't actually want to have a cut or a piece. So now we're going to give this just a couple more moments. It's actually doing pretty good getting to that tacky point where I can apply it. You generally want to wait a fair while, but you can also apply a little bit of heat to get that there just that little bit faster. And as long as your layers are super thin, it's not too bad. And in this particular case, this is not a point of holding together kind of thing, where if I'm creating two pieces for, say, parts of a suit of armor, I want to give this as much time to be ready to set so that it sits together. But in this case, it's not so bad. So yeah, and our coat was thin enough that we're not super bad. It's not too bad. Usually, some people recommend that you apply multiple coats, and you can, depending on how secure you want that connection to be. But I found with these ones that the connection is pretty good with just one coat. So now I'm going to apply the outer ring. So I'm going to line it up along here. Now, I was talking about how we want to make sure that it actually lines up super even all the way around. So we're going to go around, and we're going to start getting all of it attached and lining up, preferably against your edge to avoid a ton of extra sanding later to kind of even it out. And you keep applying, and you can already see here, you look at it, it looks like it's going to not be all the way flat and it's going to curl up or something like that. So the easiest way to deal with this is actually bend your shield. So I'll do it this way. And bend your shield back a little bit as you're applying that piece. And that will actually stretch out the whole thing enough so when you press it all down, so there's a little bit of creasing in there. It's not 100% perfect, but you bend it all down, apply all that, squish it all down. I'm gonna shake the camera here, and voila, you have the outer ring of your shield. It's all done. So there's the base thing of your shield. Now, of course, we want our shield to look like we've got those rivets in that they sometimes have. If you don't need that, you don't have to worry about that. But if you want to, here's a nice and easy way to do that. So first off, I need to get my contact cement ready. I just need a little bit. Now this is where I take my googly eyes. Now, if you're really particular about how it looks, you want all that symmetry and stuff like that, I'm going to measure out. And I usually go with 8. I've got 8 all around this. So you're going to measure your top point, your southern point, east and west, and then 1 divided in between. Now I'm not as super worried about having it perfectly. So I'm going to grab my glue. That's going to be hard to see. I'm going to just rub my piece onto it. Then I'm going to apply my rivet. Alright, try to center it up. Now, you could let it set off, get that in there, and then take that off, let the both get ready. But you can also just set it on there, and depending what kind of glue you're using. I mean, I'm using the contact cement, but just set it on there, and you're going to let it dry for a little while. And basically, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to measure all of these out and get these all applied. All right, so all of our rivets, or googly eyes, in this case multicolored, have been applied to our shield. So now our shield is pretty much ready for the finishing stages. I can still put straps on. Now I recommend when you're doing those straps is basically you can use the same stuff you used. Use your craft foam and cut it into the strips that you need for it. You can use leather. You can kind of use whatever you want, and you can basically attach it the same way. Just use some contact cement and away you go. And it'll do pretty well. When you measure it, make sure whoever it is going to, this is getting attached to, measure their arm out. That way, when you put it on and they try to put on their shield, it actually fits going around their arm and it doesn't get stuck or snag, or else your craft foam will tear. Your leather won't, but it might rip off of from the glue that you use after it's worn enough. So you kind of want to measure that one based on the arm. You want to measure a smaller one for the hand, or however, if it's just going straight on both arms, you're going to want to measure so that it'll go through. The hand can go through with no problem, and it'll go up to the largest point. So if I had to measure off mine, I want to make sure I'm measuring off that large point on my arm. Otherwise, sure, I'll get it through with my hand, but then it'll get stuck. So I'm not going to worry about doing that on this particular one, because I got to get it measured first before I apply it. But our next step is to seal it so that we can actually paint it. So you have a couple of options as far as sealing goes. A lot of people, it's going to be Plastidip or something similar. No, in this case, I actually like to use Rust-Oleum Peel Coat, because I find that it takes less time between coats to be able to apply. It applies just as well. It's just as paintable as Plastidip. It's also, at least this version of the Peel and Coat, it was almost $5 or $6 cheaper than the Plastidip in my area. Now, it's whatever you can get access to. So if you get access to Plastidip, or if you get a really good deal on Plastidip, use Plastidip, use Peel and Coat. So this is, once again, it's just like Plastidip where it's a rubber coating. So that's the thing. You can go for both of those. You can also do the whole Mod Podge thing, where you can seal it in Mod Podge. Let's actually show you the label. And that'll work just as well. And you apply that. So I'm going to actually use this. I don't have a camera set up to show you doing the spray down for that. That'll be something that'll come with some later videos. But I'm going to head off. I'm going to go spray this down, get those coats done, and I'll be back in probably a couple hours. It doesn't actually take that long. I can actually get this with a couple of decent coats in a couple of hours. So it's super convenient, whereas you're looking at, with Plastidip, you're looking upwards. If you're doing 3 coats, you're looking at about 12 hours of work. Or 12 hours of spraying and waiting, spraying and waiting, spraying and waiting. This is not nearly as bad. I can give it about half an hour and it's good to go. Okay, I'm going to spray this down. I'll be right back. And we're back. And look, it's all sealed. It's all good. It actually looks really good. And I actually only needed 2 coats of the peeling coat, or the peel coat stuff. So it's actually not too bad. It could be a bit better. I could definitely do a thicker coat, and didn't really do anything with the edges, though I could have. So I'm not too worried about that. Obviously, if you want to make your own and make it nice and clean, you clean up the sides, sand down the sides, so it's all nice and smooth and even. It's actually really even compared to a couple of the other ones I did before. So it's actually not too bad. So now we're going to get to the painting part, and this is actually pretty easy, and it actually doesn't take too long depending on what you want to go for. So I want to go with the whole similar thing to what I got here, where I've got kind of the steel kind of looking edge, and then I've got the green inside. I'm basically going to replicate this shield here. So we're going to start by doing that edge, and basically we're going to start with our silver, and I just grabbed dollar store silver. I've got dollar store hunter green is the 2 ones that I'm using right now for this one. So cheap, whatever you can get access to pretty much. And then, use a foam brush. I like the foam brushes because they actually apply really well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way along the edge. I'm going to actually go out. And if you go away from where you actually applied the paint with and keep brushing over it, you're going to get less of a brushed look to it. It's going to look nice and clean. Like my first one here, this first shield, you can definitely, if you look super close, you can see it's very brushed on. But if you look at this one this time around, because of how I'm applying, it doesn't quite look as brushed on. It looks a lot more naturally metallic. And then go over my rivets, go around my rivets, try to get as close as you can. You don't have to get 100% on it, because you want it to look a little worn. Right, you don't want it to look like it's a fresh coat of paint for this guy, because this is a well-used Viking shield. I mean, in addition to scoring in for that, you could also add extra things like cutting into the side of it, like there's an axe cut or whatever else you want to do just to add that bit of personality, especially if you're doing a full-size shield, say for an adult Viking cosplay or reenactment or something like that, where you want that lived look to your shield. This is going to definitely get that by applying that. Add some cuts or whatever to detail it. So I'm going to paint in, and then I'm going to keep going over my paint. Spread it out a little bit more as I apply it. Don't worry if it gets in there, because, I mean, it'll add character. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Is it adds character. So basically going to keep going all the way around here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing this. I'm going to let this paint dry. And the great thing about this is I'm discovering, whereas for certain projects you need multiple coats to get the color that you want, with this brushed look, I'm only going to need the one layer. And it's going to look really good. All right, I'm going to finish this up. I'll be right back. Okay, so the silver has dried up. It's nice and good. And it looks, like I said, it looks pretty good here. So now I'm just going to quickly apply, you know, same thing, nice and brushed in. I don't want it too dark. Like I said, I like that faded tone to it. It looks well used and worn, that kind of stuff. And once again, we're removing a ton of the brush strokes by doing this. So we get all the way across. I mean, admittedly, these are painted shields. You know, they intentionally painted their shields, so it's, you know, having a bit of that brush stroking still there is not the end of the world as far as it goes. You know, but like I said, any way to kind of get that nice look, and how dark you want the paint to be basically determine, or how visible you want your paint to be, kind of determines how many coats you end up doing for your shield. Now, if you want it super visible, you're going to do one, maybe or two, maybe three coats. But if not, you're just going to do just the one, right? And it'll actually turn out pretty good. I've got a couple of them where I did one layer of paint, and it turned out pretty much spot on. So, you know, and it doesn't take long. Like, you're looking at this whole thing from template to finish, not including drying time for glue, plastic and whatever, but actual crafting time. You can probably get it in and around a couple hours at most. Alright, so you can see, even in the light, you can see kind of the way that tone is going to look. And it's going to look really good. You know, and you can get as far into those corners as you can. If you need to get all the way into the corners, you want it to not have that kind of edged, darkened, edged look, like we've got here and here. You can just tape off the outside and then get that paint in, or do this part first. Paint the inside first, and then slap some paint or tape or whatever. So, you know, and a great thing, of course, you keep that template, for example, and just put that right there. You basically just capped it off. So you can actually get in, paint, not worry about the silver going into your painting job. Now, the last detail that I usually add, and you can add if you want to or not, is the detailing. All right, you can make it whatever symbol you want. So for this original one, I have this one here, and I basically just used spray paint. I put this in there, lined it all up. I can't line it up right now, but I lined it all up, and I just whoosh with the spray can, just really quick, and get that brushed on, and it kind of, so that way it doesn't look like it's, once again, it keeps that faded look. So essentially I'd do the same thing with this. Now I'll probably do another layer on this guy to finish it up, but other than that, voila, the shield is done. The only thing you have to add on the back is your straps. Alright guys, so there you go. That is one Viking shield all done, ready to go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed checking this out. If you enjoyed this tutorial and you want to see other stuff, I'm going to have a link somewhere in here of the Minecraft sword tutorial that I did, and probably somewhere over here, some other stuff. So of course, subscribe to the channel, give us a like, turn on those notifications if you want to see more tips, tricks, game-related stuff. I'm also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on Twitch as well. If you want to actually ask me questions, I stream pretty much almost every day. So, and we're going to be doing more cosplay-related streams in the near future. If you want to support the channel and support us, of course, subscribing helps support. But I also have a Ko-fi account as well. Links will be down below, and that'll support getting all the material and everything I need to be able to do more of these. And in the comments, be sure to give me suggestions of what kind of tutorials you want to see me. Have you seen me build something and you want to see how I did it? Or you want to see how I did a particular technique or anything like that, and I don't have a tip video up for it yet? Be sure to put those in the comments below as well, and as soon as I'm able to, I will get to each of those videos and work on all those builds here and there and get all that stuff out, and you can see it all over the place. You can see work in progress and all of that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Have a great day. Have fun. Keep gaming. Keep crafting. And I will see you guys again next time.